Welcome everyone to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Great to see you all here. Welcome. Shar. Welcome Shar, first time here at ISKCON Silicon Valley. Came to the Kirtan Oasis and now here at ISV. Thank you for coming. And for everyone who's joining us online, welcome from various places around the world. The process of bhakti is based on gratitude because we all come from an original divine source, Krishna. There are many names for our original divine source, but in a very philosophical way, the greatest of all bhakti yoga literatures describes Janmadhyasya yataha, that there's an original source of everything. And that original source is called the Absolute Truth, who's the center of everything, the source of everything. So yoga is a very exhilarating process of coming back in contact with our original divine source, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as everyone knows, there are various ways of doing this. Yoga comes from the root word in Sanskrit, yuj, which means to connect. And there are various ways in which, even in ordinary life, we try to connect with other people. So we might look them up on Wikipedia or Google their address and pay for some investigative report. This might be compared to the process of gyan, where we look into, through knowledge, the original divine source and try to understand through our intellect, through examination. And there may be other ways as well. We may stand outside somebody's house and try to look through the windows from the street, try to get to know something about them inside. And this is kind of like the process of dhyan yoga, where we sit and look through the window of our heart and try to see the supreme source of everything sitting there, because he's also known to be located within the heart of every living entity. But the process of bhakti is more like coming to know someone very intimately through developing trust. If you trust somebody, then you tend to open your mind and heart to them. That takes some time. It's not an instant process. When somebody just walks into your life, even if you have a good feeling about them, you're not going to tell them everything. It may take some time when you see that they actually have a relationship with you. And so bhakti is like that also. There are ways in which we come in contact with Krishna, partly through his family and his friends, those who are already connected with him. For instance, you'll take someone into your life very quickly if your best friend says, no, they're okay, they're really good, you're going to like them. I know them too, I've known them for a long time. And then, your mind and heart is open. And similarly, there's a way in which in bhakti, one of the main ways in which we approach the supreme truth, Krishna, is through his devotees. When there are those who are already practicing bhakti and they're following other devotees who are following other devotees, it's, as my dear godbrother Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu used to say, in bhakti, it's not what you know, but who you know that counts. As when you know somebody on the inside and you serve them and you're connected with them, then that person tends to give you a good referral. The other aspects of bhakti are a means of remembering our relationship with him. And just as a person who has amnesia, sometimes when somebody has a head injury, and there are other ways in which people can have amnesia. Satyadev Prabhu, when he's here, can tell you all about him because he knows all these things. Then there's a progressive way in which the medical givers, the caregivers, will try to remind the person of their previous life or their present life that they've forgotten. They'll tell them, remember, you used to live on Elm Street? And there were trees there. They weren't elms, they were redwoods. And they'll go on describing the different aspects of that person's life that they've forgotten. And through that constant hearing, then the person begins to remember certain aspects and begins to wake up. So in Bhakti also, there's a way in which we're staying in contact with Krishna through hearing about him, through various descriptions given in the authorized Vedic literatures, like the Srimad Bhagavatam. And very specifically for us, there's a summary of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which talks all about the various activities of Krishna when he was here 5,000 years ago. And this is mentioned in the Bhakti scriptures to be a primary means of reawakening our remembrance of Krishna and our love for him also. Incidentally, this is not something superficial or extraneous to our nature. In the teachings Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives to Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, he says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Kare Udoy. In Bengali, this means, in English, this means, from the Bengali verse, that bhakti, or this natural affection that we have for our original divine source, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is eternally there in its potential form within the heart of every living entity. And you don't need anything extra. It simply needs to be awakened. And it is awakened by a touch from the internal energy of the Lord. This is mentioned in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again. It says when a ray of the internal energy touches the heart of the living entity, the heart begins to become softened. And this softening of the heart really means that one reawakens one's affection for Krishna. So hearing about Krishna from the Krishna book, or the book called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and other books like Bhagavad-gita, which give the very context of our existence and who we are, where we come from, and so forth. And then hearing Krishna's names, just as if you've ever had affection for someone, did anybody have an experience where you fell in love with somebody and you just wanted to hear their name and say their name again and again? Okay, if you don't want to admit it, then we'll call on. Okay, you're helping us out here. There are many songs and poems throughout the world in which this. And I was just mentioning in an earlier class today at Google that when I was young, there was a play on Broadway, and it was called West Side Story. And in that, it became a music. It's musical, and in it, this boy falls in love with a girl, and then there's a whole song that he sings. It's just saying her name over and over again, in different ways and tunes, and he's So it's a natural thing when people have names, and the names remind us of the people. In the case of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna and his name are the same, and there's a way in which by saying his name again and again, repeating it, one also is reminded of one's original love for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then there's another thing that we do when we're showing affection for someone, and that is that we share food, we break bread. And bhakti is very much centered on eating. Because eating is a very visceral experience. And when a mother wants to show love to a child, she'll get in the kitchen and cook. You get in here and eat. Eat or you'll die. You have to eat my cooking. And the child might be off at school or something and thinking, God, I wish I had my mom's cooking, I'd feel better about life and everything like that. And we actually develop by eating. Annamoy means this way in which every living entity has a connection, first with mother, but the mother is the representative of Krishna. And we live by eating, and we experience the Supreme through eating. Even in very primal forms of life, the eating process goes on. And if you look around and you notice all living entities walking around, they're all looking for a little something to eat. And if you feed a living entity also, they'll become your friend immediately. we were just in Japan, and there we were staying at Ananta Gauranga's house, and his wife, it's up on the 5th floor of a building, and every day she feeds these birds that come up on the balcony. And they must have a wristwatch on or something, because they come right at the right time. And they make a little noise, feed me, and she comes out. They're not as afraid of her. She's their maintainer, and she feeds them a little biscuit. She's tried different kinds of biscuits, and this bird, he'll only eat the particular kind. So they have this relationship, and you notice it. It's very noticeable. The relationship, the bird comes up and goes, I'm here, feed me. She goes, okay, I'll take care of you. And so there's a way in which Krishna is feeding all living entities all the time. It's nityo nityanam, chaitanas chaitananam, yo vididhati kaman. The Vedas say that Krishna is the feeder and we're the fed. That's our relationship with him. So in bhakti, this process of cooking and eating and so forth is augmented. So there's a way in which we cook, and all the time we're thinking how to feed Krishna. This is the very intimate part of bhakti, that although God doesn't need to eat really, as he says in the Bhagavad-gita, patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati taraham bhakti paritam ashnami paritapmanaha. If you offer me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it if it's offered out of love. So the devotees, they sustain themselves like every other living entity by eating, but the eating becomes a sacred process of bhakti and of remembering our love for Krishna. So the devotees, when they cook and they're thinking, this is for Krishna, I'm going to feed Krishna. So they make everything really nice. And they don't try to enjoy it in the process. And they're thinking, I make this nice for Krishna. And then they put it before Krishna, they put it before a picture of Krishna, and then they say, please accept this, I made this offering for you. And then Krishna accepts it. And then afterwards, the food becomes transcendentalized, because Krishna has transcendental senses. This is proved in the Sri Brahma Samhita. Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti pashanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. This verse describes the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and that all his senses are can play the part of all the other senses. And for instance, he can eat with his ears. Just by hearing, he can eat. Or by seeing, he can impregnate the world. By his hands, he can hear. They're all interactive, his senses. And so by offering a prayer to Krishna, offering food, then Krishna will accept. And then the food becomes transcendentalized. And it's called prasad, or the mercy of Krishna. And so when one takes to bhakti, it's a very delightful change of diet. One then begins to eat food that's first been offered to Krishna. And those who do this notice the change in their life immediately. It's seemingly only a small change, but it makes all the difference in the world, because we are what we eat, not just in physical body, but also mind and spirit. And we'll develop the consciousness of the food that we're eating and the way that we're eating it as well. And so bhakti is dependent on these two very basic principles, which is calling out the name of the person that one loves, and also eating food that's been offered to the beloved. And by doing these two things, then bhakti naturally awakens within the heart. And one who has this heart connection with Krishna can't stop thinking about him. And of course, this is the goal of yoga. Manmana bhavamad bhakto. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita that yoga means to be able to constantly think about the supreme source of everything. Because when I forget about the source of everything, then it's like when I'm seeing the sun, but I turn my back on the sun, then I see darkness. I see a shadow. And this is the cause of fear. The apparent darkness that I'm seeing is only my the way that I've turned my attention away from the Supreme. And the remedy to this is to turn my attention back towards the Supreme. And the best ways to do that I've just described, by saying the name again and again, and also by taking the food that's been offered to Krishna. So we're going to do both of those today, unless you're fasting. Some people are fasting today because it's a special day. It's a Kadashi. And after this session we have tonight, then there'll be some of the prasadam we'll serve out so everyone can take that. So first, what do you think about the idea of us trying some chanting? Everyone agrees? Yes, okay. So we'll try it. We've talked about it for a while, and we'll try a little chanting. And then after that, we can have some discussion on the Bhagavad-gita. And then after that, we can try some dancing. And after that, if we get tired, then you can have some of this prasadam. And that just about covers the whole realm of bhakti. And if you do those few things, then you'll always be happy in your heart, and all the problems in your life will feel like they're from a dream that you woke up from. You want to try it? Oh my God. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Now we're going to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, but you have to bear with us because this is a new tune that we're singing. And hopefully Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama. Couple more times. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time, one more. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Part two. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
All participants are muted and they can unmute themselves.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Back to one. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Rama together. Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama one more time. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Go Premanande Nitai Gauda Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo. Nitai Go Premanande Haribo. Before beginning our reading of the Bhagavad-gita, I first offer our respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who brought the Bhagavad-gita as it is to the West and made sure that everyone got it. So we're taking it up at the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, which is entitled Dhyana Yoga, and we're in text number 30. And in this chapter, Krishna's been speaking to Arjuna about the process of Ashtanga Yoga, through which one very mechanically organizes one's life around the principle of looking inwardly to find the supersoul within the heart. It begins to disregard the changing material world as a separate energy from the soul, seeing that I am always existing, whereas the material world is always changing, and developing more and more determination to be simply fixed on one point, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the heart. So Krishna's giving this overall instruction about a meditation, and at the end of the chapter we'll find that Krishna comes back to the point that we began the class with, which is that bhakti, or the sense of devotion that one has in one's heart, is the most powerful force in remembering Krishna. One may mechanically fix one's mind on Krishna, but may become distracted. But when the sense of love is there, then it's natural and spontaneous for one to remember Krishna. So in this verse, Krishna's talking about how to see Him everywhere, and the state of mind of someone who's thinking of Him constantly. So I'll say the Sanskrit and then you can repeat. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati, tasyaham na pranashyami, sacha me na pranashyati. Sacha mena pranashyati. And now we'll do the word for word. Yaha, whoever. Mam, me. Pashyati, sees. Sarvatra, everywhere. Sarvam, everything. Cha, and. Mai, in me. Pashyati, sees. Tasya, for him. Aham, I. Na, not. Pranashyami, am lost. Saha, he. Cha, also. Me, to me. Na, nor. Pranashyati, is lost. Translation: for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Let's say it all together. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. This is the purport or commentary on this verse given by Srila Prabhupada. A person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the development of love of Krishna, a position transcendental even to material liberation. At this stage of Krishna consciousness, beyond self-realization, the devotee becomes one with Krishna in the sense that Krishna becomes everything for the devotee, and the devotee becomes full in loving Krishna. An intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee then exists. In that stage, the living entity can never be annihilated. nor is the personality of Godhead ever out of the sight of the devotee. To merge in Krishna is spiritual annihilation. A devotee takes no such risk. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita 5:38. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shamasundara, situated within the heart of the devotee. At this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of a yogi who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself. And in the first sentence of the purport, Prabhupada says, a person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere. And he sees Krishna in everything. And then he goes on to mention that even while looking at the material manifestation, the devotee remains aware that this energy is non-different from Krishna, because the energy and the energetic are non-different. Of course, we learn from Krishna the great mystery of and mystic power of his existence, in that although he's non-different from the material world, he says, Yoga Maishvaram, this is my supreme opulence in yoga, that still I maintain a separate existence. Even though I'm one with everything, I still have a separate existence as the personality of Godhead. It's not something that can be comprehended intellectually, and therefore Krishna phrases it as, this is my supreme opulence, mystic opulence that I have. For those who are beginning the bhakti process, as was Parikshit Maharaj, apparently, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami, and there's a long story behind this. Parikshit was a king, and he was cursed to die in 7 days. Therefore, he took the last 7 days to fully fix himself in the practice of bhakti. So he sat down on the bank of the Ganges and was praying for the right kind of help. And when one does that intensely enough, then Krishna makes an arrangement to send a teacher. So many teachers came, but amongst them emerged Shukadev Goswami, who was a 16-year-old, but who had fully realized the absolute truth and was simply wandering. And his only purpose in life was to give mercy to others. Although there were other great sages and accomplished yogis present in that assembly, they recognized Shukadev Goswami because he was self-effulgent. And they offered him a seat of esteem and asked him to speak to Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit began to ask questions of Shukadev, beginning with, what's my duty now at the time of death? What's the duty of every person who's about to die? And of course, no one can say who's about to die or not. Therefore, it's relevant to everybody in the world, because when you're born, you're not given a contract to sign that says, this is how long you get to lease this body for. I mentioned that at Google and said, nobody handed you a pen when you were a baby and asked you to sign. Someone said, I think maybe they gave me a footprint. But Parikshit then heard the answers from Shukadev and began to ask more questions. And in his initial description of how one can come to step by step fix one's mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shukadev tells Parikshit that one has to look at the universe and see how it's the body of the Supreme. Although this is kind of an imaginary form of the Supreme Personality of God, and nonetheless, it's applicable because, as I mentioned, all energies come from the Lord, and the energy and the energetic are non-different. However, Shukadev says one should see the mountains as the stacks of the bones of the universal body of the Lord. And the trees are the hairs on the body of the Lord. The rivers are the veins in his body. The days and nights are the opening and closing of the eyes of the universal Lord. And all the birds in the world are artistic sense. He goes on to describe many different details of the universal form of the Lord, because the mind has to have somewhere to go. As Krishna mentions in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, Klesho dikartarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukam devadbir avapyate. This is in response to Arjuna's asking, which is better, to conceptualize the impersonal form of the Lord or to think of the personal form of the Lord? And Krishna answers there that it's very difficult to think of an impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord. And those who take that path, try to imagine the Lord as impersonal, are fraught with trouble in their path. But it's natural to think of a form. You can think of little children when they're drawing things. They'll make everything personal. There's a house, they put a little smile on it. There's a cloud, it's looking down like, hey, how you doing? We think, oh, this is childish. And however, it's natural, because this we learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam is the nature of the spiritual world. Everything's personified there. And none of that, we're persons. Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad-gita to Arjuna, Natve vaham jatunasam natvam nemi janadipa nachaiva nabhavishama sarvivaya mataparam. He says that you and I exist now, we've existed in the past, and will exist in the future. Not only that, all the soldiers, and he's speaking from the battlefield of Kurukshetra, have existed in the past, they'll exist in the future, just as they're existing now. And the individuality of the soul is never lost. So Shukadev says, you can begin by conceptualizing the universe and also seeing how benevolent it is. There's some thought behind the universe. Of course, we can look around and see. If you notice, a cow gives milk, gives just enough. It gives enough for the calf, and then there's always more. And it eats grass. It's a perfect food, milk. But you eat grass and give milk. Try to make a machine like that. We could put some grant money out there for Stanford University. See, you make a machine where we'll just shovel in grass, and out the other side comes milk. And they'll be, of course, they'll take the money, but they'll never come out with a machine that makes milk. The best people have come up with is almond milk, and now I hear that's not too good for you anyway. So, who thought of that? Who thought of a machine where you put in grass and milk comes out the other end? And if you look into the way in which the entire world works, you'll find a complete system built into everything. In the Sri Upanishad, in a general sense, it's mentioned that the world works in a perfect way because it comes from a perfect intelligence. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because it is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced from the complete whole is also complete in itself. Even though so many complete units emanate from the Supreme Person, He remains the complete balance. So we're learning that all together. So one can sense this. If we, in any study, in fact, it's mentioned by Narada Muni in the first canto, 5th chapter of the Bhagavatam, that the perfection of any science is to find out the source of everything. So as one looks into physics, for instance, one may then begin to question the nature of reality. In fact, we met a physicist the other day when we were at the corner of Hayden Ashbury. The only one that comes near that is Market and Powell. But Hayden Ashbury, we were there distributing Bhagavad-gitas, and we distributed quite a few too. I saw some empty boxes afterwards. We did meet one young man. I said, what's your profession? He said, well, I studied physics. And he told me that after he started studying physics, he started looking at the world in a different way, questioning what's solid, what's not, what actually exists, what doesn't exist. And as one goes into any science, Narada said, one can then see the inconceivableness of material nature. and trace it back to an inconceivable intelligence. This is he says, the proper connection through science. And even a layperson who doesn't study science can be amazed at the way the world works. If you look at a little seed, just examine it. And in the Gita, Krishna says, Bijamam sarvabhutanam. I create seeds. I am the seed. You look at a seed, that's Krishna. So you look at a seed, it's a little insignificant. You could just miss it if it was lying around somewhere, and you think, oh, that's nothing. But amazingly, within one seed is a tree. And all it requires is a little dirt, a little water, some sunlight and air, and then it manifests itself and it comes out. Not only that, it holds out its arms, and on it holds many other similar fruits that contain within each fruit the seeds to grow another tree and perpetuate itself continually. Who designed that? It's more complicated than the iPhone 10. Who designed it? Who thought of it? These are the kind of ruminations of a person who's becoming God conscious, Krishna conscious, seeing Krishna everywhere. It's not that a bhakti yogi doesn't interact with material nature or look at it or simply turns away from it, but looks at it and marvels at how everything works and sees Krishna behind everything. So this Prabhupada's mentioning within these first couple of sentences, a person of Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Another example Krishna gives in the Gita is water. He says, Rasoham apsakonteya prabhashmi sashishuryayo pranavak sarvavedeshu shabda ke parusham nishu. So here he mentions that I'm the taste in water. And Prabhupada in his purport says that for the bhakti yogi, every time he or she drinks water, that a devotee is in gratitude, thinking of Krishna, because there's nothing that can satisfy like water when you're thirsty and you drink water. And you can think, oh, that's Krishna. And the experience I'm having of drinking this water, the way it's making me feel is Krishna also. It's Krishna's reciprocation. Water is a very mysterious substance, and it's what brings everything to life. Just add water, and it comes to life. So Krishna is that life, and he's the source of the water. So the yogi, the bhakti yogi, whenever he's drinking water, is thinking, oh, this is Krishna. Krishna is so kind, Prabhupada mentions in his purport. He's given me this miracle beverage that brings me to life and is keeping me alive, and he's sustaining me. And then in the verse I just quoted, Shabda ke purusham nishu, the sound and ether, the sound vibration that's coming through the air, this is also Krishna. And sound vibration is what reveals Krishna also. Through the mantras, the Vedic mantras, one can come to understand just by listening. One can sit and listen carefully, and it all goes in. And it transforms the heart, it informs the intelligence, and everything becomes possible by the process of shruti, or hearing. And that's Krishna. He's there within the sound waves. And especially when the sound is directed towards glorifying Krishna, and especially when it's being done by those who are pure-hearted, the sound takes on a particular quality, as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Prithu Maharaj, who says that when a person who's in love with Krishna speaks about him, then the sound vibration itself touches Krishna's lotus feet, it mixes with saffron particles, and then the sound vibration itself enters the ears, mixed with this, as he calls, saffron mercy particles, SMP. And then it has a particular effect on the heart. And so the devotee, the bhakti yogi, is always thinking of these aspects of Krishna, seeing within material nature, interacting with Krishna in various ways. And also in his or her own life, watching the transformations that take place within the body and realizing that Krishna's taking me through the different phases of my life. If you just sit and watch carefully, you'll notice that you start off as a baby and then you turn into a teenager and then middle age and then all of a sudden you're old. 60 is the youth of old age. And you didn't know that? Yeah, it is. And you can watch. And Krishna describes in the Bhagavad-gita, Dehino sminyata dehe koma ranyavaram jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatran muyati. He gives something so obvious, it's before our eyes all the time, but I'm so distracted, busy looking elsewhere, I never notice it. He says that as the soul is embodied and watches the body change from boyhood to old age, you'll also notice when you change into another body. This body will be given up, and it's already happening before our eyes that we're changing bodies. We'll change into another body at death. But the bhakti yogi is thinking of this all the time, going through the different phases of her life. She's thinking, oh, I see, now my body's changing. This is by Krishna's arrangement, is noticing that. Others may miss that, who are not connected to the process of yoga. In fact, that's what Krishna mentions in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, when talking about how one changes one's body. Ukramantam stitam bapi bunchanan vagunan vitam vimunanana pashyanti gyanachakshusa, says that a person's eyes have to be trained in knowledge through the practice of yoga to see what's happening when ukramantam, when stepping out of the body and going into another body. So somebody who's trained in that yoga sees what's happening. Oh, I see. I'm leaving this body, going to the next one. Just like my godbrother recently, a couple of years ago, left his body. He was in charge of the Goshala there in Vrindavan. He used to take care of any cows. There are a lot of cows that are just left to wander, and sometimes they get sick, ill, hurt. He'd take them all in. He has a gigantic Goshala for years. And then he himself got sick, and he had some incurable cancer. So he went to the doctor in Delhi. Doctor said, "Oh, you're finished," So he came back, and he called a few friends, and he goes, I have to check out now. He said, I have to check out now. They're like, check out of what? He goes, no, I'm going to leave my body. And they say, oh, okay, thanks for letting us know. And a couple of weeks later, he took off. He checked out. So devotees see the world in a different way. They see what's happening through the material nature that's within their own body as Krishna's arrangement and how things are moving in that way. Others don't see, and when we go to Salesforce, a few times we go once a month. I go once a month by the mercy of the devotees here. Let me come in there and talk to the people there, and several times we've brought along this portable changing bodies exhibit, and it shows. It's a sculpture, and it shows the little baby, and then baby's growing up. He's a young man holding a Time magazine, and then getting older, and then going to middle age. I think he's smoking a pipe or something at one point. And then he starts to dwindle and then die, and then you see a skeleton at the end. And so just checking into the lobby there, carrying that in, people were walking along, I'm in a hurry, and I'm in a what? They stop, and they come back, and they're taking pictures, and you get on the elevator, and everyone stands back, and he goes, you're kidding me, right? What is that? It's like, what do you think it is? And they go, oh yeah, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And seeing it all at once, this is something remarkable, and the most remarkable thing is nobody thinks of it. But somebody who's trained in bhakti is thinking of this all the time. Thinking, yes, I'm traveling through this body. Now my body's turning into a teenage body. Now my body's turning into a middle-aged body. Did I skip an age there? There's something between teenage and middle age, isn't there? Youthful? Youth. Okay, youth. And then after youth, then there comes middle age. And after middle age comes the youth of old age. 60, and then comes full-blown old age, and then comes a time at which one begins the process of leaving the body. And I've seen many times, unless there's a traumatic accident, or some sudden thing, people start to leave their body before they leave their body. It starts to dwindle and become useless, and their subtle body starts to detach from it. And when the final thing comes, they make the change and so forth. So a person who's trained in yoga sees all this as Krishna's arrangement and sees how Krishna's energies are working in wonderful ways, and in that way is always conscious of Krishna. And the more advanced bhakti yogis are also, to them, the form of Krishna, Shama Sundar, as we heard from this verse, is visible in their hearts. There's a progression that takes place as they practice bhakti yoga, beginning with, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. There's a cleansing of the heart. The heart, Mahaprabhu said, is a mirror, and through that mirror, one is able to see oneself and see Krishna, but when it's distorted or when it's dusty, then one can't see anything. But by the chanting process, one gradually begins to see oneself and see one's self in relationship with Krishna. And then there are deeper and deeper moods that the devotee enters into in his relationship with Krishna. For instance, there's in the prayer, the Shikshashtakam, the devotee is thinking, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadishakami, that I don't want anything else. I just want this. And he's thinking of the Lord in terms of his relationship to the universe. Jagadisha means he's looking over the universe. But then as he becomes more intimate, and the more intimate one becomes with Krishna's relationship, he thinks Krishna is mine. He has a possessive mood. And Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam vam vishame bhavam buddha. He's thinking of Krishna in a more personal way as the son of Nanda Maharaj, and thinking, I'm your eternal servitor. And the prayer is, I just want to be a speck of dust at your lotus feet. So this is Krishna's talking in this particular verse about the way in which one advances in yoga and begins to see the Lord through his energies, and then through advancing in the processes we talked about at the beginning of class, chanting Hare Krishna and taking prasadam, that one's heart softens and one begins to perceive one's personal relationship with Krishna and naturally thinks of him in a particular way and sees him in a particular way. And Krishna feels obligated to the devotees, and therefore, ye yatamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. He reciprocates with each soul in a particular way and reveals himself in a particular way so that the devotee's desires are fulfilled in serving Krishna. And now we'll take a few reflections. That is, anything you heard so far that's stuck in your mind, you find interesting or that you find useful in your practice of spiritual life. Or anything that you can remember verbatim. Let's change that picture as soon as possible. Oh, there's the changing bodies. That's is that at Google or Salesforce? That's Google. Yeah, I just put it right in front of me so I don't have to say anything. There it is. This is one of the originals. This was created by the same devotee who made our Prabhupada deity and the Vyasas on here. And slightly outdated from the styles, right? That was made in the early 80s, I think, or maybe late 70s. See, we don't even have to say anything now. Thank you. So, I don't know how you did that, but thank you. So, we're expanding outward from our booth, aren't we? Getting creative. So, reflections. What did you hear so far? Hansapriya.
Actually, the word dwindling struck me, and I was looking at this image here, and it's like when you're a kid, you're helpless, so you're somewhat dwindling anyway. And then older you get, the dwindling starts too. So it's like a 50% of your life is dwindling. and then half the time we put into sleeping. So it looks like a majority of our life goes into dwindling.
Well, Krishna says something like that in the Gita, that as soon as you're born, you start dying. It's the process is taking place. It's just a matter of time. Of course, okay, that's enough of the picture now. You can put it back. We get many reminders of how short and how rare is the human life. Labvam sadur labamidam bahusam bhavante manusham artanam anityam apihadira, in which the Bhagavatam says that the human life is very, very rare. It's attained after many, many births in various species. And although it's temporary, anityam, like every other physical body in this world, artadam, it's full of value. And the full value is that you can attain the perfection of life in this little interval of time. In the middle of time and space, you're given a slight interval through which you can attain full consciousness. The human life is... So that the scripture is reminding us again and again, take advantage. As soon as possible, with alacrity, as quickly as possible, great enthusiasm. It's an imperative. It never says take your time and don't worry about it. You'll get another chance. It always says it's very rare and it's extremely urgent. Extremely urgent. Urgent and important. You know that little chart? Urgent but not important, and then there's not urgent, not important. Important, not urgent. This is urgent and important. Take advantage right away. What else did you hear? Yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful lecture. Two things that I will pick up from what struck me. One was the precise definition of soft heart that you mentioned, that and the heart is softened when you rekindle your remember your relationship with the Lord. Otherwise, normally in the lay terms we define soft heart as something different, like somebody who does philanthropic things, he has a soft heart, or who's forgiving is a soft heart. But real soft heart is one who remembers that he's a servant of the Lord.
Yeah, if you can find the word Suryamshu. Can you look that up, please? Suryamshu. I don't know where the verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Suryamshu, if you can find that, it will lead us to one of the verses that I'm referring to, but which I haven't memorized yet. And in this Bengali verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was explaining how a ray, Surya Amshu, a ray from... You already have it? Okay. Lucky we have pundits in the front row here. You got to say it so we can hear it, though. Madhya 23.5. You're in for a treat whether you see this verse. You may freak out. Okay. I'll say, please repeat. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryamshu Samyabhak Ruchibish Chitta Mishrinya Gridasau Bhava Uchite. So this is in the section where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was talking about how one develops one's love for Krishna. And of course, there are various stages. And the stage just before one attains pure love for God, called prema, is called bhava. And so this is in that context. When devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. At such a time, devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tastes, and one is then situated in bhava, emotion. And the purport. This verse is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 131. Thank you. And this verse obviously talks about how there's one becomes affected by the internal potency of the Lord, and how it touches one's heart, and the heart becomes softened. And there's another verse in the 11th canto that says a similar thing in reference to chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which I mentioned is one of the primary processes of bhakti. And in this verse, Evam Vrata Swapriya Nama Kirtya, and the number is 11.2 what? 11.240. This verse also says that by the process of chanting, one's heart becomes softened. So this second line you see, Druta Chitta, everyone say Druta Chitta. So this means, Evam Vrata means when one makes a vow, Swa Priyanama Kirtya, then in the chanting of Hare Krishna, then the name becomes very dear to that person. And Jatanurago Druta Chuta Uchar means, you can scroll down more if you want. But up enough so we can see the word for word. Thank you. That jata in this way develops, jata means like it's born, it's developed. Anuraga, attachment, druta chitta, with a melted heart. So the heart again is melted, and how? By this vow of chanting the Lord's name. The name becomes dear to the person, and then the heart begins to melt. And this is the way in which one develops love for God. And incidentally, in the previous verse, when we talk about the being on Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma, that's how the other verse begins. The Shuddha Sattva comes from the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. That is establishment beyond the three modes of material nature. There is ignorance, called tamas, and rajas, which is the mode of passion or unlimited desires and longings, and then a sattva-gun, which is the mode of clarity and virtue, and the mode from which one can actually perceive the difference between matter and spirit. And above that is called Shuddha Sattva, and that mode is unaffected by any of the lower modes of nature, meaning rajas and tamas. There's no mixture. And from that position, one comes directly in contact with Krishna and the spiritual energy. And so that's all possible by the process of chanting Hare Krishna and progressively coming closer and closer in affection to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. What other things did you hear? There was a few more. Yes. 1, 2, 3.
In this verse that says Evam Vratas, but this is like kind of nice vrata of chanting and dancing. Similarly, when Prahlad Maharaj says in 7th canto Griha Vrata that people are remain in the materialistic life of Evam Griha Vratanam, that verse says. I was just remembering how that different vratas.
Okay, so he's playing off the word vrata, which means to make a vow. He says some people make a vrat to chant Hare Krishna. Other people make a vrat to stay in the material world no matter what else. No matter what happens, we're staying here, okay? And that if you drag your feet, it takes a little longer to become purified.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
The one point you said where an inconceivable product has an inconceivable origin, I was relating to that from my English class on Monday. I was finishing off a chapter, and it was written by a famous environmentalist, Aldo Leopold. And basically, he finished it off by saying that anybody who's seen the beauty of nature knows that God is real.
Nice, good connection. Find a lot of those in Emerson and Thoreau also, where there's this pantheistic way of looking at the world and seeing how God's within everything. There's a kind of a communion through nature, and this is one of the ways in which Krishna urges us to begin the process of bhakti in the beginning of the Bhagavad-gita. In fact, in chapter 10 of the Gita, he gives us his Aishvarya, points in material nature where we can see his opulence. He talks about a banyan tree, of all trees, the tree that represents me in the material world is the banyan. And then of all aquatics, there's the shark. It's kind of like, whoa, what was that? It's a little... And so in all these ways, yeah, very astute. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for the class. So I like the point where you were mentioning in the beginning of the class that the process of bhakti is like developing trust, and it takes time. And then you were mentioning how someone who has amnesia was like, do you remember this? And then that's the process of chanting and then taking prasadam. And then one can see in terms of Krishna's energies and like Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, and then so all these points are very nice.
Yeah, there's a development of trust. It's not that we're just developing trust that Krishna exists, but he's also developing trust in us. Because we have free will and we can decide to do whatever we want. We can decide that I'll take up Krishna consciousness or now I quit. And so Krishna's aware, acutely aware of our mental states or our intentions and so forth. And when he sees, as he says in the Bhagavad-gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. He sees that we're sincere and we're trying. And despite the fact that we may not be very good at it, he doesn't see that part. He sees the part where we're trying. And when we're consistently trying, despite the fact that we're not good at it, or that there are obstacles, then he develops trust in us, in our determination to become Krishna conscious. So it's mutual. And mutual trust is very powerful. It's hard to get, it's easy to break, and it's extremely powerful when you have that. So that the whole spiritual world exists within that realm. It's the realm of faith. Faith is actually, sometimes people think it's insubstantial, wispy, not real. It's nothing you can put your faith. Oh, there's the world of faith and there's the world of hard science and so forth. But actually Krishna says it's the opposite. In the Bhagavad-gita he says a person is made of his or her faith. And that we don't move without faith. We actually have faith we exist, because you can't prove it, can you? Can you prove you exist? You wake up and try to come up with a scientific experiment to prove that you exist. You can't do it. You're just aware that you're aware, and therefore you know that I exist. And then you have faith in the rest of the construct of the world and all the things that you do. You only move when you have faith. If you had some trepidation about whether you'd live or die by walking out your front door, you'd stay in, you wouldn't go out. And if you have some doubt about the person at the intersection, whether they saw you or not, or whether they're crazy or not, then you just don't cross the street. It's like, no, you go first. I mean, we only move, and we're able to move by faith. And in the spiritual world, all the movement is by pure faith. It's the world of pure faith. Here in the material world, it becomes mixed with the lower modes in nature. Krishna talks about this in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, and he says that we are our faith, but then it becomes mixed by different modes, and therefore we see the worlds, we have faith in various things in this world, and these things are not substantial. The thing that is substantial is our original relationship with our divine source, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we have that, and when the faith becomes pure, then it becomes absolutely substantial and real. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Hare
5.
Krishna. Guru Maharaj, I particularly
You
like
get one of those little number machines. Okay, go ahead.
I particularly like the quote that you took from Gopi Prandan Prabhu.
Oh yeah.
The one he says, in bhakti, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So
yeah, and actually he continued to put one more part. He said, it's not what you know, it's who you know and what you are that counts.
So it resonates with the practicalities of life, where we see that most of us are inclined towards gathering things like material wealth here and there. And even though some of us are beyond that level of material understanding, some of us try to go to transcendental level, but still that inherent pursuit of knowledge that continues within us. Like, I want to know this, I want to know that. So that want to know and know more and more is basically inherent in all of us here. But what we need to understand is, which actually comes from Brahma Samhita as well, Vedeshu Durlabham Bhakto, right? So basically Krishna cannot be known from the Veda study. You have to know him as a person. Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. So he's a person, you have to know the person, versus just blind pursuit of Vedas. So this quote
Yeah.
actually links very well with that shloka.
Yeah, and the definition given in the very beginning of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmanyadavritam. Pure bhakti is free of this intellectual pursuit to understand God or collect useless knowledge, and also from the desire for working for fruitive results. And bhakti is simply the use of one's senses, both internal senses and external senses, in the culture of serving Krishna in favorable ways. Is what the definition is. Furthermore, you can't become overzealous in collecting knowledge. This is mentioned by the Goswamis, that don't become a bookworm and over-collect knowledge simply for the sake of knowing more than everybody else, or defeating others in argument and so forth. In that way, the Goswamis themselves, the Goswamis I'm referring to, were direct disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, and enumerated the teachings of Mahaprabhu so that we have them available in the world today. But they, when confronted by great scholars of the time who were professional debaters, there were professional debaters that go around, and you'd sign their little sheet after they defeat you. And that's how they got their bread and butter. They go around and say, see who all the people I beat? And people give them donations and go get them, champ, And they go out there and debate everybody. When they came to Vrindavan and wanted to debate the Goswamis, they said, here, give me your sheet, I'll sign it. And we're busy, go ahead. They weren't argumentative, they wouldn't get into it. Of course, in their literatures, they present arguments to defeat various fallacious ideas about understanding God from the impersonal aspect and so forth. But for the most part, in bhakti, one consumes the kind of knowledge that is helpful in increasing one's devotion, and they don't need to be huge gyanis. Okay, that was 1, 2, 3.
We were talking of, seeing Krishna everywhere. So I, whenever I'm driving on the freeways and I reach the destination, whether it's work or temple or anyway, I always see that Krishna is there. Otherwise, there's so much of the driving is, either me or anyone, everyone's mind working in some way. Maybe at the same time, both of us change. And so when I reach the destination, I know that Krishna is there. That's why I've reached.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to see the super soul, is to notice that you lived on the freeway. And but you see it, in human society. I mean, it's actually a miracle that there are only as many accidents as there are. But I watch oftentimes birds. There's 2 of them, and they'll fly in the air in tandem. They just stick together wherever they go. And then if you get 1,000 or 1,000,000 birds all at once, and they just change course. Have you seen this? They just. There's a groupthink there. They're all tuned into the same super soul. Besides that, how do birds and dogs and everything, they know where to go. I see them in Vrindavan all the time when I'm walking around Govardhan Hill. There's these street dogs, they just live out there. And, I see them running past me with an intent look on their face, and I say, where are you going, How do you know where you're going? And birds, and I watch snails in my backyard. They're crawling somewhere, and I think, how big is your brain? And do you have a brain or just a central nervous system? And how do you know that there's something on the other side of this sidewalk that you want to eat, And like living entities, if you notice, not just humans, how they move through, and they have a sense of direction, and they have a sense that, other people are there, and they miss by inches. But throughout nature, we see how super souls assisting everybody in various ways. It's really nice. It's a good way to remember Krishna.
I think you already answered my question, Prabhu. But what I was thinking is the same thing about faith. Yashoda Kumar Prabhu was saying. You mentioned that everything moves by faith. But I was just saying that what's the role of knowledge, right? Because I have a faith that somebody will stop at red light. So then when I'm green, I can go. Because everybody have the knowledge of how the system works. So how much of that knowledge is required for the faith to develop, or is it not at all required in bhakti? But I think you answered that.
No, in bhakti you need that. In fact, it's mentioned in the early stages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Chadadhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya shrutagrihitaya. The advancing devotee has to be fortified with two things, knowledge and detachment, jnana and vairagya. But it points out that you don't have to seek them separately. They come from bhakti. They come from performing devotional service itself. Vasudevi Bhagavati, you knew this was coming. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayat Yashri Vairagyam Jnanam Chayarahaitukam. That by performing direct devotional service, one automatically gets jnana and vairagya. This is how powerful is bhakti. So, yes, you need them, and the Bhagavatam says you become naturally fortified by those things. So, for instance, if you carefully chant 16 rounds in the early morning, with trying the best you can to focus on the sound of the holy name, you'll notice that you have these assets with you. They're in your pockets when you go out. There's Gyan over here, and Vairagya over here, and anytime you need them, you just pull them out, and it's like, that's how you stay fortified and keep going. You just keep filling up your pockets. So those things come by Krishna's mercy, yeah. Who had the number 5 number? Yeah, Vrinda Sevika.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. That's interesting how the sound goes from pure devotee when he's saying, and then it goes, touches the lotus feet, Krishna's lotus feet, and then it's touching the saffron, and then it goes. So
yeah, it's very poetical,
so.
But it's practically experienced by those who spend time in the association with devotees just hearing. It happened to me before I came to the Krishna consciousness movement. I'd read a lot of books because I was very interested in spiritual advancement and took up a lot of austere practices and had my mantra and my way of looking at the world. Then I got captured by Krishna consciousness. It was so overwhelmingly detailed in the knowledge, and there was just something so mystical and very alluring about the devotees and the mantra itself. And besides, when I heard George Harrison was into it, I said, all right, that's it, I'm going. And then no, I was getting off on a tangent. At what point was I making? Oh yeah, and then I remember when I first came to the temple, I couldn't understand a lot of things. Like, of course, I still can't. But in the preliminary, stages, I'd look at the Bhagavatam and I'd say, what's all these stories? I could, and the pictures, and I could appreciate Bhagavad-gita, its philosophy, and it's like, this fits with self-realization. I can understand that, but I'd see pictures in the Bhagavatam, I couldn't read it, couldn't understand it. And also the deities, I couldn't really relate. And I had been trained, like you were talking about your poet or author, seeing in nature. And so I was seeing God everywhere. And when I first came to the temple, looked at the altar, I was looking at the flowers. Because I think, yeah, I see God there. I don't know about these statues, but, But I had a visceral experience, a conversion. I experienced it by being in the Bhagavatam class every morning. I moved into the temple, and there, every morning we had the Bhagavatam class. And I remember our temple president was giving class, Bhutatma Prabhu, and he was speaking about the queens of Dwarka and their relationship with Krishna. And I was, when I first started hearing it, I couldn't relate at all. And then all of a sudden, I just started noticing, oh, that's pretty attractive. And I watched myself change, by being in that association. And everything started to come into focus by the process of hearing and the association of devotees. And that's the process of bhakti. And if anyone sits in the assembly of devotees and just hears submissively, then Bhagavatam says, Satam prasangam mamavirya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana kata tajjoshanad asho pavargavartmini shradaratir bhaktir anukramishruti. That step by step you'll transform. And not only transform, that one of the side benefit is you become free from the path of birth and death. And you'll know it. You'll feel it for yourself. And this is a kind of medicine that takes place in the group hearing of the Bhagavatam and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. There was one more? It was Sundar, yeah.
I was just recollecting the point that you made about from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how the devotee actually, or the beginner, sees the different elements as the body of the universal form of the Lord, and how we can connect or become Krishna conscious even when we are interacting with the material elements. And as you also pointed out in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, where Krishna says how his opulences are manifested in different things in the material world. So I was just recollecting that, and also something that something practical is, at the end of the day, if you really think about how your day went and how Krishna's mercy was manifested in that, then it's a powerful, we can get connected to the Lord.
Yeah, I really liked what Gandharvika said about, and you said about going through traffic and realizing that you came out alive, and sort of what you're saying, you just analyze, look at your life and see how, really appreciate how Krishna's maintaining you. That's another aspect that Krishna talks about in the Gita as well. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva. We do all these grain ceremonies and we talk about how this is a samskar, or a time to remember that Krishna's maintaining us at every second just by eating. I have a godbrother, whenever I would visit him in Bangkok on my way to India, and we'd sit down and we'd have prasadam, and afterwards he'd always say, "Well, Krishna fed us again." And he said, he looked at me and goes, "You've never missed a meal in your life, have you?" It's like, yeah, how does he do that? Even when you're a baby, you don't think about it. Krishna just feeds you. There's a mother there, and the milk's coming, and everything's available, and the mother has affection for you. Lucky for you, because Krishna, it's all built in the Krishna system, and you're not thinking about getting food, but it comes, and then you grow up, and it's somehow or other, all the arrangements are there within nature, and one who becomes conscious of this and aware through developing one's appreciating capacity. One of our next topics at Salesforce and Google and Intel will be on that topic. And that's one of the ways in which, or why we call Bhakti the yoga of gratitude. And when you develop that more and more, you become aware that somebody's maintaining you. Not just feeding you, but maintaining your life. You're alive. In fact, we really don't breathe. We're being breathed. You're on a breathing machine right now. You want me to prove it? Try to hold your breath. Let's see how long. Hope nobody's tuning in right now. Are you still holding your breath? Anybody stopped? Why'd you stop? You couldn't help it. At some point, you'll get panicky and you'll let go, and the breath will start again beyond your control, because you're on a breathing machine right now. You're on life support. We're all on life support. You think, oh, that poor guy is on life support. You're on life support too. We're just being supported at every second. Our life is being supported through the breath, the way the heart's beating. I wrote that piece a while back because it was very, very direct experience I had. I was taking a nap in the afternoon, and I woke up and I heard my heart beating, and I was thinking, what's making it beat? Priya Kishori said there's a condition, a psychological condition you can develop where you become overly aware that, well, the heart's beating, it could stop at any minute. How's it all going on? But all this means becoming more and more aware of our dependence at every second. And if you chant in that mode, if you can bring yourself to reality for a second, all of you are there, if I can bring myself to reality for a second and realize how I'm dependent, and then chant in that mode of Hare Krishna, I'm dependent on you, please help me, I'm fully dependent. Then there's immediate traction in the process of bhakti yoga. It's that simple. Yes?
I was just curious. Thank you. I hope I think it's on. No? Okay. So, as you're becoming more of a devotee, do you also see a lot of signs,
Signs.
Yes, like a couple of days ago, I was out, it was late at night, I was, in this lake, and I was making a prayer, and a shooting star went right by me. And last night I was doing the same thing out in nature, and I just saw something pretty miraculous again. So I was wondering if it's a lot of miracles or signs you see.
Definitely. Krishna's telling you to surrender.
So hard.
She's like, yes. Yeah, definitely. This is exactly parallel with this verse. I mean, the world's moving in a certain way, and when I have my own agenda and plan, and I don't see how it's Krishna talking to me. For instance, the sun rises every day. Srimad Bhagavatam says the sun's talking to you every day, saying, listen, I'm taking away your life. I'm taking away your life again. I'm taking away your life. You're one day closer to death. But I'm thinking I wish I could get the sun out of my eyes so I can get down the 101 freeway so I can get to my work. I'm not thinking about, the message that's coming in. Of course, that verse also goes on to say anyone who's engaged in Krishna consciousness, their life isn't being taken away. They're enhancing. They're taking steps back to the spiritual world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks about how, the grass is speaking and is saying, I'm your exemplar for humility. I stay down here. And when people walk on me, I just keep doing my service. And the tree as well. And so all of nature is speaking to us. Krishna's voice is there, but I'm distracted. I'm the man. I'm doing something else, so I don't hear it. But when you become Krishna conscious, as you are, you're developing your awareness of how Krishna is signaling you in all different ways. And this is how the devotee is seeing Krishna within everything. He is interacting with us. He's speaking to us through nature and also directly, but I can't hear him. There's too much noise going on. Too many material desires ricocheting off the walls. I can't hear a thing. So the more I become humble and submissive and open to the fact that I'm fully dependent on Krishna at every second, the more I start to hear his voice and realize him in my chanting, realize him in the things that happen to me in my life. And the devotees always taking what happens, even reversals of fortune, as Krishna's mercy. The Bhagavatam says, Te anukampam susumikshamanu bunjani vatmakritam vipakam. The devotee sees the environment as friendly, that it's refining me. Even when I get, dumped on my side by some circumstance in this world, the devotee's thinking thank you, Krishna. You just woke me up. Good slap up against up the side of my head to wake me up. Thank you for doing that. Now I'm more aware of you. And devotees always thinking like that and taking the signs, and that's what it means. Perfectly in line with the verse today. And now we'll end with some chanting, because Jiva Goswami said every meeting you should have chanting at the beginning and the end. Any deity worship you do, any kind of sacrifice you do, you have to chant Hare Krishna beginning and end, otherwise it doesn't work. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Premanande. And now we have a chance to dance. And never miss a chance to dance. That's the title of my new book. And so we will move all the asanas make the floor open dance floor. We'll roll up this rug. So you have plenty of room. You have the whole temple room, so you can let yourself go and dance before the deities. Hare Krishna. That's right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for the class, both here in the live studio and online around the world. Thank you. Hare Krishna.